I am one of those Africans who think that even though Rwanda, with the President Kagame, they are being accused of causing mayhem in the Democratic Republic of Congo, I think Kagame is doing very, very, very amazing things in Kigali and Rwanda, to be specific. I have traveled to Rwanda and I can tell you for free that Kagame is doing massive things when it comes to development in Rwanda, setting pace for all African countries. So if you are an African and you have the means and the capabilities to travel to Rwanda, I urge you to go to Rwanda and see what Kagame has done post-genocide in 32 years' time. Kagame has transformed Rwanda to another level. That is for a fact. That is for a fact. And that is why Professor Lumumba is speaking passionately about the changes and the development that are happening in Rwanda post-genocide. People thought that Rwanda was not going to realize her potential, but Kagame proved otherwise. As we are speaking now, Rwanda is one of the most developed African countries. Rwanda is one of the most digitized African countries. Now, let me not talk so much. Let's have a look at what Professor Lumumba spoke in relation to Rwanda's development. Then when we come back, we can analyze the video further.
Rwanda, like the phoenix, rose from our ashes. Today, permit me this latitude with the Genocide Memorial Museum. Rwanda has become a mecca for those who want to see how things are organized. If you want to see how roads ought to be built, you go to Kigali. If you want to see how roundabouts are manicured, you go to Kigali. If you want to move away from the disorder of border borders to be found in Kampala and Nairobi, you go to Kigali. If you want to see policemen that reject your money when you want to corrupt them, you go to Kigali. If you want to see how football stadia and how basketball pitches are built within time and within budget, you go to Kigali. Kigali has become our pride, and when you go to Kigali and you want to see how technology is being used to good effect, you go to Kigali. That is how Kigali has risen, and that has happened within 32 years. Those who were born in 1994 are alive and well, and we have something to say about Kigali. So even as we are sitting here today, we cannot allow ourselves the luxury of being sad. Sadness is for the weak. The strong must be strong. That is why I'm glad to be present in this assembly. Glad knowing that revisionists and denialists will never find a pride of place. Their chance of survival is like the chance of a snowball in hell. That is why I'm happy to be here, because the international community, I pray and hope, will liberate ourselves from schizophrenia and epilepsy, so that they'll be able to ensure that not again will we have what we saw. That is why I'm happy to be here, knowing as I do that the African spirit has now been awakened, and that going forward we'll do what we must do. That is why I'm here and happy to know that because we have immortalized all these things in history, there'll always be a point of reference. And when the genocidaires come again, we shall stop them in their track. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be with you in the knowledge, as was said by the famous Samora Machel, a luta continua, victoria ersetta.
That is Professor Lumumba speaking about development in Rwanda. That is what we need in Africa, that Africa has to develop, okay? Africa has to unite. Even though we have scuffles between Rwanda and Congo, we always pray for these countries to be at peace, honestly speaking. We pray for that because we can never realize potential in this continent if we are always in conflict. That's why we speak about what is happening about Africa. We speak and condemn the evil doing. So I cannot condemn Kagame because I'm not sure of what people say about President Kagame. One thing for sure is he has really tried to make sure that Rwanda's economy is catapulted to another level. That is the spirit of Pan-Africanism. That is the spirit of our forefathers. And the good thing is we are realizing what our forefathers had dreamt about. We are realizing it right now. And this is one of the perfect moments to be in. I normally say that this is one of the perfect moments to be born. Because we have a lot of transition within Africa. And most of African leaders, they are realizing that, look, we have to be taking this continent to another level. Leaders like President Kagame, they are setting pace. Leaders like Duma Boko of Botswana, they are setting pace. Go to Namibia, good things are happening there. Go to the Sahel region. When I talk about the Sahel region, I mean the Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. Good things are happening there. In fact, when I talk about the Sahel region, recently, the president of the AU visited the Sahel region. This visit was so much anticipated to the fact that most of Africans, they were thinking that Burkina Faso, because the president of the African Union visited Burkina Faso, they were thinking that after the visit, at least Traore will be given a seat. Traore will be given right to audience to speak in the African Union. We are not sure about that because, as you know, Traore is never allowed to speak at the African Union because African Union is thinking that Traore is not democratically elected. So for him to be given a seat, for him to be given the mandate, for him to be given right of audience in the African Union, he has to be democratically elected. After the visit, we think that it will be wise for the African Union to at least consider some of these leaders, the leaders like Traore in the Sahel region, to go and attend the African Union meeting. In fact, when the president of African Union went to Burkina Faso, my thinking was maybe he was going to benchmark what they are doing because it seems that the Sahel region is getting it right. These three countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, it seems that they are getting it right, unlike the African Union, which is a collection of so many African countries, but they cannot solve basic African problems. Problems like conflicts in Africa as a continent. Look at what is happening in Congo, conflict. Go to northern part of Cameroon, conflict. Go to Sudan, one of the unforgotten war, conflicts. Africa has to unite, guys. And we have to unite immediately. That's why we are speaking passionately about the fact that Africa has to unite.